Hello, and welcome back to Wisdom Inspired Living, the Wisdom of the Family Soul series, exploring how our relationship with life is shaped through belonging, inheritance, and the deeper systemic patterns that live within us. In our previous episode, we explored receiving life through our parents and how our relationship with the path life came through can deeply influence our relationship with life itself. Today, we move into another foundational systemic principle, belonging. Because from the perspective of the family soul, every person longs to belong, not only socially, not only emotionally, but deeply to family, to relationships, to life itself. And when belonging becomes interrupted through exclusion, rejection, shame, unresolved grief, trauma, or disconnection, flow within the system often becomes disrupted as well. Today, we explore how belonging restores flow within ourselves, within relationship, and within the family soul. Belonging is not simply a preference. It is a profound human need. From the moment you are born, the nervous system begins organizing itself around connection and relationship. Children especially will do almost anything to maintain belonging within the family system, even if it means suppressing emotions, becoming invisible, overachieving, caretaking, disconnecting from themselves, or carrying emotional burdens that do not belong to them. Good question. Because belonging feels connected to survival. And this is important to understand compassionately. Many behaviors that later create suffering originally developed as attempts to preserve connection. From a systemic perspective, the family soul seeks inclusion. It moves towards wholeness. And when someone or something becomes excluded emotionally, or hidden, or rejected, forgotten, or unacknowledged, the system often continues trying to restore balance in unconscious ways. This is why systemic work places such importance on acknowledgement. What is excluded rarely disappears completely. Very often, it continues influencing the emotional field quietly beneath the surface. When belonging becomes interrupted, people often experience deep internal disconnection. This may appear as loneliness, anxiety, emotional isolation, self-rejection, people-pleasing, chronic striving, fear of abandonment, difficulty trusting relationships, difficulty receiving love or support, the feeling of never fully being enough. Sometimes the interruption of belonging begins very early. A child may feel emotionally unseen. A family member may be excluded. A loss may remain unspoken. A traumatic event may never be acknowledged. And the nervous system adapts around that reality. From the perspective of the wisdom of the family soul, unresolved exclusions often continue echoing through later generations, not as punishment, but because systems naturally move toward inclusion, and balance. The family soul remembers what has not yet been fully acknowledged, and often later generations unconsciously carry emotional burdens connected to those unresolved dynamics. For example, carrying sadness that does not fully feel personal, feeling responsible for others emotionally, difficulty allowing joy, fear of fully living, unconscious guilt around happiness or success. The Agreement to Life Wisdom material reminds us that agreement involves recognizing our interconnectedness and honoring the generations that came before us. And often, healing begins when what was emotionally separated is gently acknowledged and allowed back into awareness. One of the deepest forms of exclusion is self-exclusion. Many people reject part of themselves in order to feel accepted. Perhaps their sensitivity, their anger, their vulnerability, their needs, their grief, their intuition, their creativity, their truth. And over internal separation develops. One of the deepest forms of exclusion is self-exclusion. Many people reject parts of themselves in order to feel accepted. Perhaps their sensitivity, their anger, their vulnerability, their needs, their grief, their intuition, their creativity, their truth. And over time, internal separation develops. Parts of the self become hidden internally in the same way family systems hide painful experiences externally. From a systemic perspective, healing requires inclusion, not perfection, inclusion. The movement towards saying, this too belongs. This changes the relationship we have with ourselves completely. Instead of constantly trying to become someone else in order to deserve belonging, we begin restoring relationship with our own humanity. And when internal belonging increases, the nervous system often softens. There is less internal conflict, less fighting, less fragmentation. Flow begins returning, not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because energy is no longer consumed entirely by rejection and internal separation. Belonging restores movement. Belonging restores connection. Belonging restores life. One of the most powerful movements within systemic work is acknowledgement. Fixing, not forcing, acknowledging. Acknowledging what happened, what was painful, what was lost, what was excluded, what was carried, what belonged, what still longs to be seen. The moment something becomes acknowledged, relationship changes and often movement becomes more possible again. From the perspective of wisdom-inspired living, agreement to life deepens when we stop trying to disconnect from uncomfortable parts of our story. Because what we reject internally often continues demanding emotional energy. But what becomes acknowledged can begin settling into relations. The body softens, the nervous system feels less divided, and slowly flow returns. This is not about approving of everything that happens. It is about allowing reality to belong within awareness. And strangely, when we stop fighting belonging, life often begins flowing differently through us, more gently, more honestly, more freely. I want to invite you now to a gentle moment of reflection. Take a slow breath, notice your body, and quietly ask yourself, what parts of myself still struggle to belong within me, and perhaps what have I needed to reject in order to feel accepted, safe, or connected? Just notice what arises. Judgment. Only awareness. Sometimes healing begins the moment something no longer needs to remain excluded. Thank you for being here with me today. And in our next episode, we will explore trust in life again and how agreement gradually restores our relationship with uncertainty, flow, and the unfolding movement of life itself. Until then, move gently with yourself. Longing is not something you must earn through perfection. Perhaps belonging begins the moment you allow yourself, your story, and your humanity to exist within awareness. And perhaps that is where flow begins returning to. May this awareness continue unfolding gently and within you as you deepen your relationship with the wisdom of the families. And if there's a nugget in here that you find you want to share with somebody that you care about, please do so. Share. Sharing is caring. That's what they say. Check the light. And if you've not yet done so, I would invite you to subscribe so that we can see each other in the next episode.